Welcome back. As high school students start applying for colleges, some students in our area might have Siena College at the top of their list. And joining me today is Siena College President Chuck Seifert. Hello, Mr. President. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So one thing I really wanted to touch upon was, as high school seniors begin this stressful process of applying for colleges, why should Siena be at the top of their list?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if you think about a lot of the accolades that Siena's received recently, I know most everyone's aware of them, but just real quick, top 2% of all colleges and universities in the country by the Wall Street Journal, #1 school for getting a job after graduation 3 years in a row, and top 10 Catholic college in the country from 2 different sources. So there's a lot of positive accolades, but you know, I'm really proud of those accolades, but what I'm most proud of is the commitment and the dedication of all of the Siena community members in order for us to be able to reach those outcomes. So in other words, a lot of the agencies that are ranking colleges are focusing on what's really important, and that is that transformational experience between when a student comes to Siena and when they graduate from Siena. And that's really what we focus on, that's what we're great at, and we make sure that the students leave understanding what they need to be successful and also happy.
Absolutely, and I know you touched on those accolades, but one thing I really want to talk about is the community aspect here at Siena. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a part of the Siena community for 28 years, so I know the community. And look, I tell you, I'm blessed to serve an organization that I love so much. It is just an absolutely fantastic community where everyone works with everyone in order for everyone to be successful. You've probably heard me talk about servant leadership. That's one of my areas. And truly, when you're looking at that type of leadership, it's making sure that the other person is successful. And I believe that just permeates all of the community at Siena College. Students work with students, faculty work with students, students work with administrators, and we really do everything we can for everyone to be successful, and it's just a wonderful experience.
Absolutely, and I think that connection is such a huge part of the Siena community. And I know another part of the values here are the Franciscan cores that we all follow.
Yeah.
And could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So this past April, we had the opportunity to go on a pilgrimage in Italy, and we followed the steps of St. Francis and St. Clare, and it was absolutely wonderful. And those values really came out and were reinforced. You know, you're looking at inclusivity, innovation, lifelong learning, person-centered, and compassionate leadership, and those really permeate throughout the organization. And the really important part of it is that we live those values, we don't just talk those values. And as all of the Siena community knows, we really do care for each other. We focus on making sure that each person is performing at the best of their abilities.
Absolutely. And for myself, as somebody of Asian heritage, a first-generation student, you talk about the inclusivity that we provide for this campus. Could you tell me a little bit more about the different routes that Siena offers for students who are maybe underrepresented?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, of course, the Damiana Cross-Cultural Center is really important in making sure that we're looking at and focusing on a lot of those different factors and enhancing that inclusivity. We obviously have a myriad of different affinity groups, and I always say if there's an affinity group that is needed, well, let's make sure that we create it, and let's make sure that we do what we can. I also, as a faculty member, I think the faculty are very responsive and work very hard to make sure that inclusivity runs throughout the gamut.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that the faculty are such a pillar of this community. But one other thing that I wanted to talk with you about is, are there any academic routes that students can take, or any academic support systems that are in place for students to help them, in addition to their academics, mentally and emotionally?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Of course, we have the Counseling Center. We have the Center for individuals that have different disabilities and opportunities for them to make sure that we provide everything that we can in support of all the different members within the Siena community. There are huge opportunities academically, there's tutoring, and there's just anything that we can do in order to ensure that the students are successful.
Thank you so much for coming on here today, President Seifert. I hope that this encourages a lot of high school students to join us here on the Siena campus.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you. And if you want to watch this full interview after the show, you'll be able to find it on the Siena College Communications YouTube channel. You can also find it on Instagram at sienacollege.tv. Make sure you follow and subscribe while you're there. And that will do it for SCTV Live at 2:30. The next time you see us will be on election night. We'll be live starting at 10 p.m. on Tuesday. We'll see you then.